Thank you for joining us
Oh,
today,
it's
and
my
congratulations
pleasure.
on your new
Yeah.
appointment as Poet Laureate here in
Thank
Arlington.
you. Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about your background, what got you inspired to begin writing, and when that happened.
Well, I think my background is very patchwork in a lot of ways, except consistently I have been a teacher of many different kinds of people and many ages of people, everything from pre-K to grad school to adult ed, and I'm certified K-12. So I like teaching because I like to learn. And teaching teaches me a lot. I really like making connections across from one discipline to another. From last year, I ended up at the Thompson School working with kindergartners, and then I would jump in my car and I went to a senior assisted living facility. So I went from literally from kindergartners to seniors, and it was great, and there were a lot of things in common.
I was going to ask you,
Yes,
what crossovers did you
absolutely.
see, and what transitions did you see, and what crossovers in those two populations?
So I think that what I saw that struck me the most was a love of story. That I work a lot of times with the little wild ones in kindergarten, not the seniors, well, the seniors too, those wild ones. But I think you can tame them with stories, and half of it is really connecting them to stories that they love, where they're excited about the stories. And with the seniors too, I found that idea of stories, I mean, there were people in the room who were saying, I didn't know, I had no idea of that happened to you, or you lived there, or that's what your family were like, or that happened to you. And so there's a lot of energy in stories and language to share that.
Do you find that poetry opens a particular door for some people who are struggling to tell their stories?
Absolutely. I think that, people always say, well, why is it a poem? Because now we're saying, well, you can have a poem about vegetables, and you can have a poem about television, and you can have a poem about anything. So why is that a poem? And I really like a definition that William Stafford, who's a wonderful poet who died a few years ago, said that a poem is really a call for you to pay attention to something. So you've got this white space around it. There aren't that many words. So the white space is saying, what I'm saying here, take a good look at it, and can you listen to it? So I think that is a call to pay attention to it. And I think that now it's needed more than ever, because there's so much language coming in on us. There's so much coming in at us all the time, that idea of, hey, can you pay attention to this for a minute? That's more important than ever.
So it's really getting to the heart of something, the essence.
Right.
It.
One of my favorite things to do with a poem that a high school English teacher taught me to do is to reveal a poem line by line. So you read a line and you say, what's the next line? To kids or anyone, and you have to think about that. So then you say it's not right or wrong, it's your version, but it has to fit what went before, and then you construct it, and you're attending to everything that's ahead of it. So that's an amazing way to pay attention to things, and I think it's getting harder and harder to do that. I have these black raspberry bushes, and I was thinking I wanted to maybe write about them. So I found a couple of really good poems written by one by Seamus Heaney and one by Sylvia Plath. One's called Blackberry and one's called Blackberry Picking. And the Sylvia Plath one was so wonderful. It's about a walk down in an ocean setting, and she calls them the hooks of the landscape, and she talks about all everything that's around it. In the end, you kind of walk out on the ocean, and there's this noise like someone beating tin, I think she says. And it's this, she's really in that landscape and thinking about those berries and thinking about what's around them in the air and the water. And It's so wonderful. And I thought, that poem, I wonder if that poem could happen anymore. Because if you were there or I were there, everyone would probably have their cell phones out and they would be taking pictures of, oh, look here, there's a lot of blackberries on this bush. I can't believe it. I'm going to take a picture, and no one would be, and it kind of hurt my heart a little bit. I thought, can we write that? Can we read and write those kinds of poems anymore? It's just.
And how are you going to bring that to the Poet Laureate position? You obviously already have a very strong connection to working with the schools and the elderly in town. Right. I'm going to guess that's what drew you to this position, to think about it. Yeah. And how do you want to expand what you've already been doing through this position?
I'm hoping to meet with the superintendent. I think we can get plugged into the schools, and I'd really like to push on that in the schools, having poetry be accessible. I feel a kind of responsibility as an educator myself for many of us have strangled the life out of poetry for kids. I think that kind of academic approach, like let's use poems to teach grammar or let's use poems to teach punctuation, is like, well, it's in there. Having said that, I think the old school thing of knowing poems by heart is great too. It's wonderful to have those poems by heart.
It really is. When you're talking about the reading the poems in the schools over the PAs, setting a tone.
Right.
When I do that within my own mind, I know that I set a tone for myself, whatever that day is. And I read into the same thing about reading poems over the PA of setting a tone like that.
Right. I gave out poems at Town Day one year. People could just pick a poem, and people were sort of nervous and suspicious about it, and they said, what do we do with these, or what should, and then, are you charging money for these? And it's like, no, they're free poems. But I said, what you do is you fold them up and you just stick them in your pocket, and sometime before you do the laundry, you find them and you pull them out, and it will be the right time to have that little poem and read it.
That's wonderful.
So we're hoping to expand that. And I think really, I guess what I feel like, Miriam Levine, who was the first Poet Laureate, had some great ideas, and she started having the beehive poets in the library. So there are beehives on the third floor of the library, and you can see the bees buzzing around, and just having kind of drop-in hours. And I think there's a sort of dedicated group of poets who come there, and I think that's a great idea, and I hope to continue that idea. But I also would like to reach out to people who don't think of themselves as poets. So if you like having a conversation, if you like thinking about things and experiencing things, there should be a way into poetry for you. People are always moved by it and engaged with it because we're language mammals,
That's what we do. Well, you are obviously going to bring a lot of energy to this position. We're going to look for poems being revealed, open hours at the library, and certainly Poetry Month in April. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Look forward to talking to you again during your tenure.
Stay tuned.
Congratulations.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you, Heather.